You're listening to CBS Sports Radio. We are all sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Strong opinions and your phone calls. Expect it here. CBS Sports Radio.
Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live. SEC, ACC, and Big Ten coverage like no other. Subscribe and like us today. Your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
Hey, Jacksonville, winter is the perfect time to start planning for your healthy, pest-free spring lawn with True Green, America's #1 lawn care company. True Green's science-based approach and local expertise will help give your lawn the year-round care it needs to be thick and weed-free. Go to truegreen.com/radio to save 50% on your first service. Just call 866-946-5956 or go to truegreen.com/radio today and get a lawn to be proud of.
Get your Sunday football morning started off right with the Handicappers on Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube, 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. Your Sunday morning kickoff show where we tackle your NFL lines out in the desert, a 61.2% win rate over the last 6 years. Against the spread, over, under, money line, you name it. And we dive into the world of fantasy football year-long and your DFS payouts. The only true Southern football kickoff show that talks the spreads in Vegas, your DFS and fantasy, in your year-long quest to win that fantasy football championship. Only on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel. It's the Handicappers on Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube, 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. Sundays, all NFL season long.
At Jewelers Mutual, we're a little obsessed with jewelry. Obsessed like auctioneers with talking fast.
50, we're going to fit.
Pop stars with auto-tune.
Yeah.
And dentists with asking questions.
So how did he propose?
After they've put their hands in your mouth.
Great.
Yes, we've made jewelry our obsession for over 100 years. We love it so much, we named our kids Ruby, Amber, and Opal.
Venti soy latte for Opal?
At Jewelers Mutual, we insure jewelry and only jewelry, which is why people who are also obsessed with jewelry trust us with theirs.
Saturday mornings, 8:30 Eastern. Dixie Football Nation is back and better than ever. We've got Tony Agolini, Matt Carr, Tones Ariola, Bobby and Angelo, along with Mac McGee this fall. Dixie Football Nation heads to the gridiron, talking ACC, SEC, the Big Ten, and all the big games throughout the college football land. That's Dixie Football Nation, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, Saturday mornings on the Armchair Quarterback Show's YouTube channel, going live. Or catch the instant replay.
Take the road less traveled in the newly redesigned Hyundai Santa Fe. With available H-Track all-wheel drive to help you get off the beaten path a little further together. And intuitive safety features that can help you see what's waiting around the bend. Plus, with generous room for 5 and comfortable available Napa leather seating, you can go for more drives as a family without driving each other crazy. Find new adventures together in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
Me out to the ball game. Get caught up with the big stories from around the world of sports in just a few minutes. Take me out to the ball game today, weekdays. Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube. Baseball, football, basketball, whatever's trending in the world of sports, it's on Take Me Out to the Ball Game today in just a few minutes. It drops weekdays, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, as Wake Up Y'all is ending. Take Me Out to the Ball Game today on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel. Take me out to the ball game. The Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live, covering the AFC South and NFC South along with the rest of the NFL. Subscribe and like us today. Your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
CBS Sports Radio, your home for all things sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, coast to coast. Great sports talk expected here. CBS Sports Radio.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the ground.
Good morning and welcome to your Armchair Quarterbacks. Take me out to the ball game segment as we get you warmed up here as we're waiting on the rest of the guys to show up. Doug is on the way. We'll be talking the NFL Power 5. We've got the fantasy football fallout. Justin Waller and I will be giving you our college football top 5. And away we go as we start this off with our old-time radio slot as we've been doing here the past few days. And haven't got a lot of feedback on it, but I enjoy it. So, if you don't enjoy it, then, tough cookies. How about that? We've got some exciting stuff that took place in the world of baseball, and we'll probably get into that. That'll probably be first thing that Justin and I jump on. But I do want to say it was a terrible call by the umpires last night, and I'll get into why later in the show and what the call should have been. But it was an absolute terrible call by the umpires. It states in the rule book, and they dropped the ball, and we will get into that later. But anyways, nonetheless, Boston's 2-run home run that walked it off may not have affected it. You look at the fact that if you put the run in and you put Kiermaier to at least second base, if not third, nothing saying that the Boston's going to get out of that inning at that point, because everything changes, the whole dynamic, everything. But the Red Sox did score 2 in the bottom of the next inning, but everything changes, so you don't really know what the outcome would have been, and it's got to be an embarrassment for the league office. At some point, they're going to initiate an apology, but they're going to slide it under when no one's paying attention. So it may not be today. It may be a little farther down the road with that. And then also you've got the White Sox, who they pound the Astros yesterday, 12-6 for people that missed that. I'm sure a lot of people were watching the Sunday Night Football. Astros and White Sox aren't really needle movers. And so if you missed that game, essentially what happened was the Astros got absolutely no pitching. Luis Garcia, 2 2/3 innings, 5 earned runs, and then they go from Luis Garcia to Yimi Garcia. The Garcia boys give up a total of 9 earned runs. 9 earned runs in 3 innings. You just can't overcome that. So that series is now 2-1. It's still Houston's series to lose, and they will play game number 4 this afternoon at 3:37 Eastern. The other games that are going to be going on today is 1:07 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and let Doug in the room here, and I'll go ahead and turn on my video. I meant to get on here earlier to do a little more of this old time radio, but Mondays are very, very difficult to pull that off. Doug, how are you this morning, sir? As I think Doug's starting. Doug, how are you, sir?
Good.
Morning.
Morning.
Going over the baseball lineup for today, and then we'll jump on to football. 1:07 p.m. Eastern, we'll have Braves Brewers, and I'll have the call here on the Armchair Quarterback YouTube channel. As I don't know what it's doing there, but we're gonna mute him while that's going on. 1:07 p.m. Eastern is the first pitch. It's Freddie Peralta versus Ian Anderson, and series is tied 1 apiece. We will have the call here, so hopefully you can join in the fun. 3:37 Eastern is the Astros White Sox. The series that I think it's the series that everyone forgets about, because honestly, it's just not a needle mover with the White Sox and the Astros. If you live in those locations, obviously you care, but across the board, there's much more fanfare for Rays and Red Sox, Braves country, San Francisco and the Dodgers. And then at 7:07 Eastern, it's going to be the Rays versus the Red Sox. It's Erod going to the mound tonight for Boston, and Tampa will most likely do a bullpen game. So we'll see who their opener is going to be. They have yet to announce it. And then tonight, 9:37 Eastern, the nightcap. I will stay up and watch this. Don't have that much interest in the Monday Night Football game, so I'm looking forward to a great day of baseball. It's Alex Wood versus Max Scherzer, and it should be one heck of a ball game. All right, let's unmute Mr. Doug and bring him in, and hopefully all that has gone by the wayside. Are you done juggling your phone or whatever that was?
Sorry, it's still off its stand. Sorry.
Fair enough. It happens. It's Monday.
Yep.
Let's go diving right into the football talk, because we always run out of time. Can't get an word in edgewise. The game last night, I'm sure you watched it being a Raiders fan and wanting the Chiefs to lose. The Chiefs look terrible. The Chiefs look like a team that may not even make the playoffs at this point. Now, I know it's a bit of an overreaction, but that's what we do on Mondays. What say you?
I have to agree because of the competition that's out there. If they're going to play like this with teams like Cleveland and the Bills that beat them, it's going to be a long struggle. And the Chargers, too, are looking like they're going to be an AFC powerhouse. I was just absolutely impressed with them. So if they're going to play like they played last night, it's going to be a very long season.
32.6 opponents' points per game. It's worse than the National Football League. Worst. They have the worst defense in the National Football League. They were supposed to be improved.
Yeah.
And their offense is becoming, I'm not going to say it's predictable, but we'll say this. Teams have caught up.
Yeah.
And so they're no longer the what are we going to do? And then, of course, we've got the terrible news about CEH. Thank you very much. I just made a trade for him, and now he's injured. Every time I make a trade for a guy, the guy gets hurt. But the point is, he's injured, and we'll find out for sure what's going on with him today. But it didn't look good. And if he ends up being out for a long period of time or whatnot, then they have absolutely no running game, because no matter who they put in there, whether it's Williams or whatnot, they're not the same running back that CEH is. So what say you on this?
I totally agree. And I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, Hilaire is on a different standard than the other ones. And if that team's going to depend on Mahomes and the way they're playing, don't like it at all. No, look, their run game was average at best anyway. I mean, Hilaire's a good player, and now he's gone. No, it's
almost like I knew it was going to happen, because when I made the trade for CEH in our we have a dynasty league. I'm not sure if you're in that one or not, but anyways, I immediately picked up Williams because I thought to myself, if this dude gets hurt, what if then I've made a trade for garbage? So I do have the backup, but that was just blind luck. The other league that I have him in, I don't have him, but I don't have as much writing on him per se. I mean, he'd had some good games, but the problem with the Kansas City offense, and you can get good in a hurry when you're about to go face Buffalo and Tennessee and the Giants defense. They've got 3 weeks in a row where they ought to put up some points.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of an overreaction, but they are 2-3. And this is a Chiefs team that was supposed to be the cream of the crop. Everyone was just penciling them in to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Super Bowl, I don't know if they'll win the division. The Chargers look phenomenal.
Yeah,
Best quarterback in that division right now.
Justin Herbert, of course.
I think it is. And I know that's crazy to say, but he does more things with his arm and does more things being able to move around in the pocket and has such great touch on his passes. I think Mahomes gets away with the fact that he's very, very talented. Okay.
Right.
And things just come easy to him. But he doesn't seem like he does quite the has quite the, I'm just going to call it what I say. He doesn't, Patrick Mahomes doesn't come off to me as good a student of the game as guy like Herbert.
Yes.
I think he's doing it all on incredible talent, but all on talent. And I haven't seen, look, when a couple of years ago, when Mahomes was was the cream of the crop in the National Football League, but you knew these young guys were coming because they're starting to emulate him, right? I don't feel like he's ever gotten better than what he was, and he really should be getting to the point in his career at his age. He should be at his absolute peak, and he doesn't look like that he is.
No, the difference between him and Herbert, Patrick Mahomes plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. And like you said, he's a phenomenal athlete. But when you watch Herbert, and we're only talking his second season, he directs that team. You can fit any kind of offensive call with him, and Herbert can execute. It
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. It's a strange dynamic to see this nowadays, where you have a guy who's getting $500 million, and he just never looks this entire year. He has not looked like the best quarterback in the National Football League. He hasn't looked like the best quarterback in his division.
No.
You give a man $500 million, you expect him to be you expect him to be like what Dak Prescott's looked like. Dak Prescott has looked phenomenal. And I think it's time for Patrick Mahomes to quit making so many Subway and sneaker, or the heck is he, or is it State Farm commercial, whatever, insurance commercials, and start getting in the film room and figuring out why he cannot. What did they muster? 20 points last night?
Yep, 20 points.
At home? Patrick Mahomes? That's unacceptable. I'm sorry, but it is.
Yep. But also, you got to give a shout out. That Bills defense didn't know at the beginning of the season, but that's a legitimate defense. So we got to give them a little bit of credit on being able to stop him.
I do give him credit, but I still say he's got too many weapons.
Yeah.
To be held to 20 points and get blown out in his own building.
Yep.
Blown out in his own building. And now, I talked about this yesterday morning. This was the litmus test. Now I'm a believer in the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm a believer, because we saw Buffalo's defense do great things over the past few weeks, but they were playing incredibly bottom of the barrel offenses.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to say, okay, and I know that's kind of speaking out both sides of my mouth, saying, well, the Bills defense looks phenomenal, but the Colts defense looks like junk. It can't be both, but it can be, because the best defenses in the NFL shouldn't be able to hold Kansas City to 20 points at home. They should be at least scoring somewhere 28 to 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get that last night.
Nope.
And by the way, it took Kansas City's defense forever to realize that they couldn't go man up and ignore Josh Allen, where he just went through the defense like a hot knife through butter.
Mm-hmm.
That was absurd. But anyways, we move on from that, and let's go ahead and talk about our Power Five, as we are now in the
Going into week.
We're at the end of week 5. Not quite finished it yet. We're going into week 6. And I'm curious to see. So give me your number 5 team in the National Football League.
This week, moving into number 5 are the aforementioned Chargers.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, you like I said, we just got done talking about Herbert and how they're playing. You can't ignore them anymore. They are, I think, they're on the verge of being an elite team at least in the AFC right now.
Okay, so you got the Chargers at number 5. I'll go ahead and agree with that. I had a couple that were jotted there, but I'm going to go ahead and say after watching the entirety of it last night, I can't put Kansas City in there.
Nope.
And obviously they're 2-3. So if Kansas City would have won last night, I was planning on putting them at number 5, saying they might have 2 losses, but look, they beat Buffalo, but they got crushed. So I take them out. I put the Chargers in. Who's your number 4 team?
Number 4 team may surprise you. And people they play yesterday, I'm going to put the Browns at number 4. Believe it or not, I do believe they're an elite team. I know they took the loss yesterday and they looked bad at the end with that last drive.
Wait a minute, you got the Browns who just lost to the Chargers, ranked in front of the Chargers?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I know it's odd, but
3-2 Browns are ranked number 4 over the 4-1 Chargers, who just.
I'm going to say that.
All right, it's your list. It's your list. I get it.
It's my list. I only say that because again, with that run offense, I believe, and then as this season goes, I think the Browns will be at the center of that mix with the Chargers and with the Bills. Those are your 3 top teams in the AFC. I'm just putting it there because I think the Browns in the long run will probably play a little bit better than the Chargers, but we're mincing apples and oranges with that. We're the difference of 1 or 2 games. That's why I put them there.
All right.
I just like the way they're playing. I just like their offense.
All right. Well, my number 4 team is going to make sense. It's the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys went into Los Angeles and beat the Chargers. They have 1 loss on their record, and I'll go ahead and say it because I'm sure it's your number 1 team too. They lost on the road the first game of the week to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right.
I'm very tempted to put Dallas higher, but there's some really good. There's going to be some good teams left off of both of our lists because I'd say there's about 8 teams right now in the National Football League that you could put in your top 5, and someone's getting left off. Some ones are getting left off. Who is your number 3?
My number 3 is your number. The Cowboys was my number 3.
Okay. So Dallas Cowboys. That means you are leaving out someone really good in your top 2. Go ahead and give me your 2 and 1 because I got to see where you're going with this.
Oh, I'm going the next. I'm going with the Bills at number 2. Sorry, as my thing falls again. Sorry, everybody.
So the Bills are at number 2, and
the Cardinals are number 1.
And the Cardinals are number 1. I don't think you thought this one out, but anyways, I'll do mine. I've got the Bills at number 3, the Cardinals at number 2, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are annihilating everyone, as my number 1. They're not even in your top 5.
No, I don't like that defense.
You don't like Tampa Bay's defense.
I hate Tampa Bay's defense.
The Super Bowl winning defense that just shut down the Dolphins. You don't like their defense.
But anybody can shut down the Dolphins. The Raiders shut down the Dolphins.
Tampa Bay. All right. You're a huge minority of people that wouldn't have Tampa Bay in their top 5. I think you painted yourself in a corner, and now you just argue to argue. I think you're like, man, I can't believe I left the Bucs out of my top 5, but I can't go backwards and take the Browns out after I sat there and talked about them for 17 minutes about how great they are. All right, obvious teams that were left out: Green Bay. I left out Cleveland. You left out Tampa Bay. Trying to think if there's anyone else out there that's You could argue. I think that's essentially the list because when you look at the Rams, you could argue the Rams. I originally had the Rams in my top 5, and then I'll just be honest, prisoner of the moment. I watched the Dallas game last night, and I flip-flopped that Dallas and took the Rams out. And I was like, you know what? If Kansas City wins, I might end up putting the Rams back in and just leaving Buffalo and KC out altogether. But Kansas City gets blown out, and so I had to put Buffalo there. But for Tampa Bay not to be in yours is a head scratcher. For the Rams not to be in either one of ours is probably an embarrassment. But there's so many good teams right now. On a neutral field, the Rams probably beat the Chargers. I don't know if they would beat Dallas. I don't know if they would beat Buffalo, Arizona, Tampa on a neutral field. But they have beaten Tampa, but it was at home. I always take that into consideration. In Arizona, lo and behold, they're 5-0.
Yeah. And that defense is starting to play maybe kind of as good as that offense. They played well yesterday. That's what
the only thing I'll say about that, I always put those off to the side because when they're divisional games, you get a lot of low-scoring games in divisional games.
True.
Like, you put the Cardinals versus whoever, the 49ers versus whoever, they both probably score in the mid-20s. But they know each other so well that it just – and it's not like college football where this is a conference matchup. Like, yeah, whatever, man. Half those dudes didn't play last year. Half of those dudes were at prom, right? So in the National Football League, if it's a team that has the same coaching staff and pretty much the same continuity on the roster, you tend to get some of these duds of offensive performances like we got yesterday. I can think of a couple of years where the Seahawks and the Cardinals were high-flying offenses, and they battled to like 7-9 battles on like a Sunday night game. And everyone's like, how is it so low scoring? And you just realize, man, they knew each other. They know exactly where they're going constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So then it just really comes down to how do you win the game? Well, you're going to have to win the matchups up front. But anyways, we'll move on from that. The fantasy football fallout of this. All right. Give me your best shot. Who you ticked off at this morning?
Who am I not? Anybody with a Raiders jersey, I'm ticked off now. Darren Waller. Just not even there anymore. And I've got him in my
Darren Waller gets shut down by the freaking terrible
Chicago
Bears.
I'm just completely disgusted with all of them. Like I said, Darren Waller, 6 points, I think. It just makes me sick to my stomach.
It cost me about 2 or 3 games yesterday, easily.
Mm-hmm. And he cost me 2. So, yeah, it's just.
How about Kyle Pitts finally goes off? But he's going to have the week off now. And so they're probably going to lose the mojo. They'll get Ridley back. And that'll be the only week that Ridley will, that Pitts will be worth the crap.
Yeah.
I got a pretty big win in the league that I always complain about on Sundays that no one else is in. And we always try to muddle through those terrible rules. I had a phenomenal day. I scored like 160 points. In that league, 115 is usually a really good day, like really good. You get 120, you're phenomenal. My team just went off yesterday. And that's even with Russell Wilson being my quarterback who got knocked out early, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to go on a bye. So I'm going to be screwed next week at tight end. I was looking at there's nothing on the waiver wire. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to absolutely. And here's the funny thing. I'm going to start paying attention because so you get this huge league, very shallow bench. These bye weeks are going to start coming up, and some people are going to have to make business decisions and drop dudes they don't want to drop. And I'm hoping I can continue to try to pull out some wins and acquire the roster I want to acquire.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, Pitts finally goes off. That was great. Patterson went off. That was great. But now they're on a bye, so that's bad. Oh my God, the buys. Here comes hell. The buys of the fantasy football world for the next 10 or 11 weeks. There's always going to be like, are you serious? This guy's on a buy, and that guy, and I didn't pay attention to that guy. It's not a buy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got Russell Wilson injured. I think I'm going to have to roll with Trevor Lawrence next week against the Dolphins in London. My day could be over with before lunch. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, there's nothing on the waiver wire. Something gets dropped, I'm going to grab it. But pre kickoff, I realized I was like, next week I'm gonna be without Wilson. I might as well go ahead and make my claim now, so I might as well grab him so I don't have to stand in line.
Yeah.
And I looked at all the matchups. The only other one I thought about was Daniel Jones, but he got banged up, so who knows if he'll even play. But he's going against the Rams. I'm like, I don't know if I want any part of that. So I was like, yeah, against the Dolphins, maybe it'll be a shootout. Everyone will be drunk over in England, won't be, looking at game tape and maybe. And the thing in this league is that running touchdowns are worth much more than a passing touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can sneak into the end zone like you did yesterday against the Titans and just get in there with his legs, then it gives me a fighting chance. But you don't like going into a game in a week when you have a must win, and I'm going to have 2 Jaguars in my starting lineup. Anyway, But anyways, who else are you ticked off at? Other than obviously like the guys that got hurt, like CEH and what's the deal with Tyreek Hill? Is he freaking? I got a question mark on him, but I don't see any kind of actual injury, so it must have been something that was minor.
I was just going to say one guy's driving me nuts, and I'm probably going to drop him. Is Allen Robinson with Chicago?
Oh.
He's giving me nothing.
He's done because I've got him a couple weeks ago. Like how the world do you hold on to? He's done because Justin Fields. It's just Justin Fields is winning ball games, but Allen Robinson is done.
Yeah. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And
what did he do yesterday? I benched him in all my leagues. 32 yards receiving. 4 or 5 targets. What are those check downs?
Yep. That's probably exactly what they are.
God.
Yeah, he put him in the scrap heap.
Did anyone do anything in the Chicago offense? Because I'm looking at Mooney, and he was 3 catches for 35 yards.
Yeah.
That was the clown that I dropped to pick up Lawrence in that league where there's nothing out there. My God, it's going to be
yes. My God is right.
and that is with them playing the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Who no disrespect to your team, but their defense is terrible.
They're just that defense, the Raiders defense is just falling apart. They're just it's hard to watch. It just almost brings tears to your eyes now.
Justin Fields, you want to hear a stat line? Justin Fields, 12 of 20 for 111 yards and a touchdown. And he's the toast of the town because they're now 3-2. And they've got a chance at the playoffs. But offensively, they're just going to be garbage.
Yeah.
Because it's not that I think that Justin Fields will never be a good quarterback. I just feel like they are keeping him handcuffed. They're playing the most vanilla offense you can find. Maybe when he comes out of the bye week, the offense will pick up a little bit. But my God, that's 5-6 weeks away. Week 11, they come out of the bye week. At least against Baltimore, that's not going to be easy. But listen to their gauntlet when you're talking about like if you should keep Robinson or any of these other clowns.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you have no threat of the running game per se with Montgomery on the IR. Green Bay Tampa Bay, San Francisco, and Pittsburgh are those next 4 defenses. He might get a total of 9 catches in that time period. I don't even know if he'll even clear 100 yards by the bye week.
No.
In the next 5 weeks, no, 4 weeks, excuse me. The next 4 weeks, if I give you an over-under of 200 total yards by Allen Robinson, I think I'm taking the under.
Yeah.
Unless someone falls down in coverage. Allen Robinson's got to be like, dude, you got to trade me. I'm an elite wide receiver of the National Football League, and I am not out here to just run block for this jerk off.
Yeah, that'd be it for me. It's time to go play with go play anywhere. This was supposed to be his big year. Oh, the Bears offense, Allen Robinson's going to be an elite back. That was all it was sold all year long. Yeah, that was a big pot of fool's gold.
Pile of something.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I know. I'm with you. I thought the offense was going to start to go with him in there, but Nagy, dude, he just does not play any kind of risky offense with Fields in there. It's crazy to say, but you're better off if Andy Dalton comes back. But I think only the way that happens is a Justin Fields injury. So essentially, you're stuck with the situation you got in Chicago.
Now here, I can make it worse for you. You know who I kept on the bench yesterday to keep Allen Robinson in? And I wasn't paying attention. Mike Williams. Yeah, I'll make it really. I'll make myself weep on air right now.
Now look, I left him on the bench in a couple of leagues, but that's because I had good matchups. I really thought Cleveland's defense was better, but there's no way I'm sitting Mike Williams over Allen Robinson in any way, shape, or form if I'm paying attention.
Believe me, you did not want to be in my house about 4 or 5 o'clock when I look down and I go, I didn't reset my order, and I look down and there's Mike Williams going off for 50 points. 50 points.
He just that's terrible. What is your walk-off for the day?
Oh, walk-off today is since you mentioned baseball earlier, as I throughout the playoffs, I've loved watching Tampa Bay play. I'm not necessarily rooting for them, but they've been a fun team to watch, and I'm looking forward to the game today with Boston. That's my walk-off.
They got absolutely hosed on that call last night. But
yeah, they did.
Anyways, you still can't give up a 2-run bomb. All right, brother. Well, we will see you next Monday, and
we'll do better with that top 5.
Go ahead and drop Robinson and put Williams in your lineup now. Do it now.
Now.
All right, we'll see you.
We'll see you.
Justin Waller is on the way. We'll be back in just a flash.
No. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. We don't have guests. We're not doing this today. Oh no. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done after fooling around with somebody?
Well, I'll be honest with you, not really sure what even happened. But at some point in the heat of passion, I must have popped her or blew a valve or something, because when I got done crying, she was completely deflated. Which reminds me, I got to find that patch kit.
I just got an email from famousbirthdays.com. Hello, we're Famous Birthdays, a popular celebrity website with over 30 million monthly unique visitors. I'm contacting you because many of Mace on the Mics fans have been searching for them on our website. I'm sure you guys are just so anxious to know how old I am. It's none of your business. We'd like to add them to Famous Birthdays, but we don't have enough information yet. Well, I'm barely 19. I just turned. I can't even drink alcohol yet. That's all you need to know, okay? You rode hard, put away wet, 19-year-old.
Armchair.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
CBS Sports
Radio station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station? It's everything.
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
Never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. Derek, Jaguar Daddy Henry, had a great homecoming this weekend. He fed and pet his kittens and all as well. We'll see you on the next visit.
Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. Tampa Bay Rays got screwed. That was a garbage call. Did I say that was a garbage call? That was a garbage call.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. The good one is me. Yeah, the armchair quarterback. He's kind of...
Hey, howdy, hi. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. I'm Mac McGee, sitting alongside Justin Waller. Justin, how the hell are you this morning, sir?
Exhausted, tired, and what a dang weekend to have an anniversary. Dear God. Texas A&M doing the Lord's work, and I missed it. It's all right. I stayed up late, and I caught up the best that I could. And what an amazing sports weekend we had, brother.
Yes, we did. God, so there's just so much stuff to get into. I guess we'll go ahead and start off with the issue at hand. I'll get more into this in the next hour, but I do want to get your take on were you able to see any of the Tampa Bay Boston game, or were you still
live? I did not. No, I caught the highlights last night, and I saw the play.
That's a terrible call by the umpires. And it's funny, I was listening to a couple of shows this morning, and I quickly realized that they just don't know baseball rules, and so they were guessing, because these are typical shows that do football. That is a terrible call by the umpires. They're going to try to bail out and say it's a ground rule double, blah 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 blah. The rules clearly state if the ball is knocked out of play by a player in the field of play, it is up to the umpire's discretion, number one, on how that they want to do it. But number two, bare minimum, you get an extra 2 bases from wherever you were at the point of the play. And that's why a lot of times when you see a ball get thrown from second base into the dugout during like a double play attempt, you'll say, why is the guy standing on third? Because in their opinion, he could have made it to third. Boston should have had a run scored on them in that point, and the batter should at least been standing on second. I'm thinking third. But terrible call. Now I get it that they hit a 2-run home run the next inning. So in theory, it wouldn't have mattered, but that changes the entire game, changes the entire dynamic. You probably put a different pitcher in. It changes the entire game.
Yeah, I agree. It changed the way that you approach what you had left in that game. And the next inning wasn't relevant because you made changes at that point that you had to deal with the current situation. So, I mean, yes, it was a domino effect after that. Yeah, after last night, turned that upside down.
Yeah, I just realized that I still had the helmets from yesterday, and they got toppled. So I can't even get that thing to stay up straight. There you go.
Chunk it over its shoulder.
they are absolutely yeah. You are sitting backwards, son. You are not in front of the Bills anymore. But yeah, just it's terrible for what I'm hoping just before for a cleansing of the soul of the baseball world. This game goes 5 and it's decided in Tampa in a game 5. And then if Tampa loses game 5 in Tampa, you can't complain. You just can't, right? You say, look, you got it back to your house. But if they lose today and get knocked out of the playoffs because of that garbage call, I said it last night. It reminds me of how badly the Atlanta Braves were screwed by the St. Louis Cardinals in the wild card game by that phantom infield fly rule. And it's like nobody understood the rules that were on the field. But to me, it's almost worse because nobody understood the rules they're sitting back in New York. And that's supposed to be Joe Torre. He's supposed to be overlooking all this. But I'm thinking on a Sunday night, he was sitting at the house eating Sunday dinner and left it up to his underlings. And you probably have some StatCast dork who's in charge of knowing what he should know and he does not know. Should have been at least 2 bases from where they were on the field. It's not 2 bases from where it starts.
It would have been that had it ground rule double straight, but on the deflection, I understand it should be live at that moment. So I agree. You should have given that extra base to, was it Yandy, I believe? I can't remember who was running in between second and third at the time, but don't get me lying. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, it's fuzzy off the headlight.
It might have been, Randy Rosareno.
But the point is the runner was between second and third when the player caused the ball to go out. Therefore, I get what they're saying. He gets 2 bases and they held him, but I didn't interpret the rule that way. I don't think that's the way it's written. And if there is a ground for interpretation, I think you need to clean it up. And if there's gray area, and I'll move into one that I did see yesterday that I'll shift gears, and I kind of wanted to get your thought because I thought it was a big momentum swing. Now, I don't know that it actually changed the W on the game, but for those that had some skin in it, maybe it did. Trevor Lawrence scored a touchdown. He wasn't down. He fumbled the ball, recovered it, and went into the end zone, and then you make that a 9-point game if you are successful. And okay, yes, it's still a 2-score game, but that's a momentum changer with an entire quarter left in football. These officials got to get it right. I don't care the sport. Get the call right. I don't think he was down. I think he fumbled the ball. He's the only one that can advance his own fumble. He recovered in the end zone. I think he should have had a touchdown. But to your point, it was a bad weekend of officiating, and we could eat them up. And come on, guys. Get your stuff together, especially in baseball. It's postseason. Work it out in the NFL. We don't need these things come.
By the way, it was Diaz that was on first. It was Kiermaier that hit the ball. So, and Kiermaier with his speed, the way it should have been interpreted, it should have been. And Diaz is obviously fast as his own right. I think he leads the team in stolen bases. But Diaz was on third or right at third base when that ball went over the wall. Right. So that's why it should have been interpreted that way. And then with Kiermaier's double, he should have been on third. Now, that doesn't realistically matter because there was 2 outs and a single is going to score Kiermaier anyways. But, wild pitch or whatever, could have had it 2 outs. I will say this. I feel like that the Rays should have pinch hit Zunino at that point because he's so hit or miss. Literally, he leads the major leagues in home run rate, meaning if his base hits are normally home runs, and if they're not, he's usually a strikeout. Like that's all he does. You got to take that guy's bat out of his hand and go to the bench. But to your point on the Lawrence, I think they thought his knee was down because of the shadows, and it was so close because I watched it several times. Looking at it, it was so close that whatever you called, I could have lived with, to be honest with you, because
and that's why I think it was a touchdown. They called it a touchdown. And I think that the shadow made it look like he was down, but I also think if you look at his arms at the same time, he doesn't have possession of the ball. So I think you honestly call it a fumble recovered by Lawrence. It's touchdown, just like you called on the field.
But if you think his knees are down, then
right. But it's a shadow, I believe.
The ball came out after his knees were down. Okay, so that's the argument, is whether or not the knees were down. I tend to think what really happened was they don't expect someone to be that athletic, Justin. And he's kind of like almost level playing the field, and he used his calf muscles basically to gyrate himself over the, and just normal person thinking, you think he's using his knees to push him over, but the guy's an athletic freak, and they're all athletic freaks nowadays. 20 years ago, I would say, dude, you're nuts. There's no way a guy's going to get across that goal line without his knees pushing up. But not today. These guys now they may not be the toughest SOBs in the world, but they're a lot more athletic than the ones we grew up watching. And it's not even close.
Absolutely.
But, let's go ahead and go. Well, let's go ahead and get our Titans, Jags. We kind of covered that. By the way, I thought the Titans did what they had to do, and I had to give Steven a hard time yesterday on the fantasy kickoff show. His cold prediction was to go against Derrick Henry. It's like, even during the show, I was like, against the Jaguars? He's like, oh yeah. You know, you can't pay that much money for him. I was like, he owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. He circled the game last year when they went to Jacksonville and played terribly. Remember that was a Thursday night game and Taylor Lewan was still injured? Remember that? That was not the same Tennessee Titan offense that was on the field yesterday or late in the season last year. So anyways, I had to give him jabs, and he was coming at me with, all his excuses. Well, if you did, all that stuff. I was like, just stop it, dude. It's like you went against Henry in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. And by the way, the guy wore his high school polo at the press conference the other day. So he knew he was about to eat.
Oh, he was making a statement. 3
touchdowns, 130 yards, and he tried to say it was all garbage time. I was like, he had 80 and 2 touchdowns before we ever hit the fourth quarter. Anyways, I just had to throw that out there. If anyone ever tells you
King Henry doesn't play garbage time.
If anyone ever tells you to bench Derrick Henry versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, just go ahead and slap him and walk out of the room. I got nothing else to say to you, buddy. You obviously don't watch the games. And that goes back to it. You have to watch the games. You can't just look at StatCast. Let's go ahead and hit our college football, because I think we said all that needs to be said in the first part, unless you want to add to it. Kansas City's just not a very good football team. And Buffalo owned them.
And the bigger thing about that is that should give a 2-game advantage. And if things play out, that means if Kansas City will be traveling, the road's going to go through Buffalo now for them. Whereas last year, this matchup had a little bit different implications. So that defense is in trouble. Kansas City does not. The AFC side or the AFC's been saying, "Hey, what are we going to do? Build our teams? How are we going to take on this?" Well, I think you see your chink in the armor, and you need to exploit that because they're vulnerable. They've got to figure out that side of the ball, or these aren't going to be the Chiefs that we've seen the past few seasons come January.
They threw up a stat this morning. Kansas City has the worst defense in the National Football League as far as points given up. The worst. And
as a Titans fan, I can tell you how that turns out.
Yeah,
you get blown out in the championships, or the championship round or the divisional if you get there, because you're going to face a stacked defense that will shut down your offense, and then you can't stop anyone.
And you know what else you're going to face if you get that far. Because I don't even know if Kansas City's a playoff team at this point. I know that's crazy to say, but the Chargers look like the best team in the division. If you get that far, you're going to play in January in Buffalo.
Yeah, that's big.
Oof. That's not going to be fun for anybody. And they are rolling. So let's go ahead. Our college football top 5 is so much stuff happened. You mentioned it. Bama loses. Florida State's back among the elite as they boat race North Carolina.
And we left at that point, 18.5, and none of us touched it. So it wasn't enough points. I'm looking there halfway through the game, and I'm like, dear God, they're a -4 right now. What is happening? Where'd my +18 go?
You know what I'm kicking myself for? We did the stupid underdog picks on Saturday mornings. I almost took them because I always have to pick last now because I've had this huge lead in it. And I almost said, you know what, screw it. But I felt like I was going to jinx them if I took them. So I was like, in my head, I was like, I'll just stay away from that. But God bless. Yeah, 18-point underdogs go in and pound them. Because people are going to see the score 35-25. That touchdown was a garbage time TD. Florida State dominated that game. I went back and had to rewatch the whole thing because I was doing the Braves broadcast. And out of one side of my eye, I was like, what in the heck am I looking at over here? But I had to keep I almost had to put blinders. I'm doing the game. And if I keep looking over there, I'm just going to start veering and just.
Sorry, dude has come full circle. Because remember, that is the game that it all originated from, off of a North Carolina kicker. Some 6 or 7 years ago.
I was worried that I was going to do one of these. Here's the windup in the pitch, and Jordan Travis is free in the secondary. He's going to score. You're like, what am I listening to? You're listening to ADD Sports Talk. ADD play-by-play football, baseball, hockey highlight might pop in there somewhere. Hockey starts. Is it tomorrow or is it Wednesday?
Oh, don't give me the line, but I'm thinking Wednesday.
Okay. I saw today they flashed up that the NBA starts on the 20th, so I think that's Thursday-ish, which sounds about right. They, anyways, opening night will start on those, and then I'll get really jazzed up and excited when the playoffs hit around April.
The Predators are open up against the Kraken, so I'm excited to.
How many openers are the Krakens playing? Because the Krakens are starting their season and get someone else. So
this will be the Preds' home opener. I guess I should have prefaced it.
Gotcha.
Their home opener will be against the Kraken.
All right.
But my top 5, it really got big and shuffled, and I think top 2. I don't know if they're debatable right now, but I'm going to say Georgia, you bump up, and Iowa's got to be my number 2. They handled their business with Penn State. And then I'm going Cincinnati. I'm probably going chalk, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, and I'm skipping some folks. I'm not putting a 1-loss team in there. I'm between Michigan and Kentucky. I'll give it to Michigan for now. I could be talked where you could possibly put Kentucky on the edge of that, but I've got to see more out of them than beating a Florida team and a bad LSU before I'd officially give them that ranking. So I'm going to go Michigan right now as my top 5 because I'm just not a fan of putting a 5-1 team in Alabama, Ohio State, or Penn State in front of them. I mean, you've dropped a game.
By the way, tomorrow night begins the NHL season. It's Pittsburgh and Tampa, and then Seattle at Vegas, which I'm surprised that Seattle's not the home team. You'd think the home team, you'd think a brand new team would get, but anyways, Seattle's going to be at Vegas on ESPN. The whole thing's going to be on ESPN tomorrow night is the short of it. And
well, Chop not out of approved for them to open yet, so they've got to get that cleared, have their permits,
I find something else interesting that I guess I just don't remember. I remember the ESPN thing being done Wednesday night. there's a doubleheader of hockey on TNT. So I find that interesting. So I guess TNT is going to go Tuesday night basketball, Wednesday night hockey, Thursday night basketball, and whatever. TNT is eventually going to get rid of all their movie reruns and turn into a 24/7 sports network.
It's interesting because I know NBC Sports stopped their contract. I thought ESPN was taking over, but I didn't know that the Turner networks were going to incorporate into that. So that's interesting.
I don't know.
I don't know that it's a bad idea. I mean, it's a new channel, a new group, demographic you're going to open your eyes to that haven't been swapping over to a sports channel. So why not? I mean, I think it's fresh and good for the NHL.
And they're in some kind of partnership with CBS. So it's not the NBC connection. When does the NBC Sports channel end? Does it end at the end of this year, or is it already ended?
I honestly thought it was the end of the 2020-2021 season. So this spring should have been, or I guess it would be summer, should have been the end of it. But
I saw it. I still see it on. Well, as a couple of weeks ago, I saw it on, but I haven't looked for it recently, so it might already be gone. I don't know. My top 5, Georgia #1. As I've been saying for the last few weeks, they are by far the best team in football, and they just continue to prove it. And Iowa #2. You can't discount an undefeated team. And I know that they don't play the sexy game that everyone wants to see, but I'll tell you what I would love to see is an Iowa-Georgia playoff game, because that would be a hard-hitting defensive battle. That'd be like 12-10. It would be a fun game to watch. I do have Cincinnati at #3. You got to give them their due, and they're undefeated. They've played a good schedule. It's not like that they're playing a bunch of bums.
They rolled into South Bend. Remember that. That's
right.
The notch right there, the feather in the cap. They went on the road and did it.
Yeah, and I don't see any way of putting them any other way other than putting them at #3. I can't put them over Iowa, and I can't put them over Georgia.
Right.
But outside of that, that's where I've got them. I've got Michigan #4. I've been impressed by them, and that win at Nebraska. I know it wasn't flashy. That's a hard place to win on the road at night, even though Nebraska's not the best team on the planet. That's a difficult place to win. So that's why I've got Michigan #4. And then my #5, I'm just not impressed by Oklahoma. And I know they're undefeated, and I know that's where everyone wants to go with it. Kentucky, I still think they're going to get thumped this weekend by Georgia. And so I'm not jumping up on the stage yet with them yet. Oklahoma State, to me, hasn't been tested. Coastal Carolina's fun to watch, but who have they played? Wake Forest struggled against a very bad Syracuse team. I'm going to go with Michigan State. Michigan State has looked impressive. They're undefeated, and they went into Rutgers. And though I took them on the -4.5 or 5, I think it was at the beginning of the line, I thought they might struggle in that game. That's a difficult place to play now that Shiano's back over there. They dominated Rutgers. And I'm with you. I can't put the Ohio States and Penn States and
Penn State's the one that I question maybe. If you were going to do it, they would be the one, because I don't think the Oregon loss now for Ohio State is as big. Oregon's shown that, hey, they've come back to reality. They're not the juggernaut that we're like, okay, well, maybe we do have a powerhouse out west, but they've slid and had a bump in the road. So I go to Penn State. Their loss was a tightly contested game on the road. What was it, a 3-point game, 2-point game? I mean, it was one score. It wasn't a blowout in Iowa. So if I'm going to pick a one-loss team, they're the team I put there. Because I'm like you. I'm not in love with the Oklahoma pick. Their defense hasn't been there this year, and they've had 2 suspect games that they should not have had. They've squeaked out wins. That's what good programs do. But I do not think it's the upper crust of this top 5.
The other thing is this: I could almost, in most years, I think a lot of people would have Alabama in the top 5. But not only did they lose to Texas A&M, they almost lost to Florida.
Right.
And Florida's not the team that everyone thinks they are. Florida's not a very good football team. They're a good football team. They're not a great. They're not even on the cusp of being great. They're a solid football team that if they're playing someone of lesser talent, they're going to beat, but they're not going to. They're going to get drilled by Georgia. I'd be shocked if that game's close. So I can't put Alabama there because in Ohio State, they've looked good the last few weeks, but that's because Ohio State's they've always been known to just beat up on the weaklings. They just, and to their credit, they don't stumble. You don't see them lose a lot of games where you're like, oh man. They lost to Oregon at home. Oregon was playing good football. Or I think it's still Oregon's a good team. They just laid a dud against Stanford. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at on that. Before we run out of time, let's go ahead and hit some sorry dudes here. I'll go first. North Carolina football. Sorry, dude, man. You've got some issues. You're going to get pounded by Florida State at home. I still don't think Florida State's a very good football team. But watching that game, I had to go back and watch it replay. And I guess sometimes you almost get a better sense of what's going on because you're not watching with emotion. You know what's going to happen. North Carolina could not stop the RPO with Jordan Travis when it seems like every other team can stop them. So that's a defensive issue. And it's crazy to think that Mac Brown is now 0-11 against his alma mater at Florida State. I would have never thought that. What say you?
Bama fans, sorry, dude. You know how the rest of us feel now. Enjoy it. Hope you get another one this year. Thank you, A&M. Hey, Jimbo Fisher, for all the haters out there, he just earned that $75 million check. That's what you paid the man for right there, to pull one of them off. Now you're stuck with him. Oh, it was worth it.
I was just about to say Nick Saban garglers. Sorry, dude, but you always hear Nick Saban's their daddy, Nick Saban this and Nick Saban that. You can't run that by you anymore because Nick Saban just got beat by one of his pupils. And yeah. So
my next one's a mix. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Close. But it's a sorry dude and a compliment all at one. First off, to the Tennessee Athletic Department, whoever designed them black on black uniforms. Sorry, dude, them were trash. I didn't like them. You should have thrown some orange britches with them. You got to split that up. You can't go black on black, and not for a day game. That's a night game, Uni. I don't know what in the world you were thinking there, but hey, it turned out into a high octane offense. But my respect to the Vegas sports book. And this will be my walk-off. Tennessee opening up a +3 to Ole Miss. Over under a 79. That's some offensive respect. I haven't seen that in decades. Who would have thought Tennessee would walk in at a +3 to Ole Miss? I guaranteed when I see that it would be 10+ the opening line. But when I saw +3, my jaw dropped. Like, wow, that's mad respect. Take Ole Miss.
It's in Knoxville. So I get that.
I get that, but yes, Tennessee has put up some good offensive numbers, but when they played the good programs, they scored 14 against Florida. They're not hanging 62 on the big juggernauts, and I think Ole Miss is going to push them.
What they're essentially saying is that Ole Miss is a touchdown better than Tennessee on a neutral site, because most home fields are worth between 3 and 3.5 points in college football, but I'm pretty sure that I've read somewhere that Knoxville is either 4 or 4.5 because of their capacity and whatnot. So, I mean, if you give me 7, I'm definitely taking the Vols. I don't know. That's going to be a fun game, Jess. That's going to be a really fun game.
I'm loading the under early, but if it hits 80, I don't know that it's going to climb. So if you're right now, I'm looking under. That's where I'm going to start. I'll let you know Friday how I locked in this week.
My last one will be LSU fans. Sorry, dude. You know you're on hard times when you're hosting number 20 Florida and you're a noon kickoff. That is usually automatic. Nighttime, ESPN, let's go.
This is in Death Valley?
It's in Death Valley. Let's go, Death Valley. Instead, it's noon kickoff. We got to get that out of the way because we're more focused on making sure Vanderbilt, South Carolina is the 4:00 SEC network game of the day.
Say that on there. That's a sorry dude right there. Like, get 2:30, 3:30 in the afternoon, gentlemen, be doing something because there won't be any football on TV in the SEC. That's a garbage game.
That's a sorry son of a. Well, we got to go. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk fantasy football questions. I see a couple of them are out there. We'll answer that. Justin, see you Friday. And
hey, quadruple header of baseball today. Don't sleep on that.
We've got the call here again on 107 or 105 or 107 first pitch. I will be on the call. Looking forward to that. I've got no time between this show and the prep. I forgot how much prep you have to do a live game. So I'm going to be like, and I've got a freaking phone conference thing that I have to do for the CBS side. So I got to squeeze that in the middle. I guarantee they're going to get a bunch of huhs because I'm going to be over here doing my show program. Huh? What'd you say? Yeah. Sure. So,
yeah, Austin Riley should be MVP.
Be careful on what I might be agreeing as to. So,
have a good week, everyone.
Yes, sir. See you Friday. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. I got to fill up my coffee.
So imagine how much I'm actually making to play. You know what I'm saying? No, I got to get my money. I'm not playing unless I get mine. It's not worth it. It's not.
For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup. The zone. To win the Stanley Cup.
Big score with 28.8 seconds left. The league will tie the game.
McCarty in. Let us go.
Armchair Quarterbacks Radio, covering the NHL like no other.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
I can't file. I can't type. I don't take dictation. I won't sharpen pencil. My boss calls me indispensable.
Miss Jones,
Just a minute.
will you make a copy of this?
Naturally. I push the button on the Xerox 914. I make perfect copies of whatever my boss needs by just turning a knob and pushing a button. Anything he can see, I can copy in black and white on ordinary paper. And am I fast? I can make 7 copies a minute. Sometimes my boss asks me which is the original, and sometimes I don't know.
You're riding Morning Shotgun with the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here weekdays. Your first choice for sports talk here on the First Coast.
What's going on here, guys? All right, coach. So basically, it was a holding call. But these dudes started me in their fantasy league, which is cool because this dude started our quarterback, but he started our kicker and I started their defense. So it's kind of a pickle.
Compromising the integrity of this game with your fantasy football leagues? Listen to me. If there was holding, you make that holding call. I don't care if it was on our team or not. I care about this game too much to let you.
Coach, you started their defense too, didn't you? Yeah, you definitely started their defense.
Damn right I did.
Armchair.
If only the world was less like this.
I could use a smoke.
Hey, put that out.
And more like this.
I could use a smoke.
You murderer! I might have children one day.
Smoking kills, unless you kill first. If you're around a smoker, you will die. Smokers may look relaxed and like they're having fun. Don't believe it. Vote yes on Proposition 421. Let's outlaw smoking everywhere, even in people's homes, and allow honest citizens to legally kill anyone who smokes. Let's live in a world without smokers. Prohibition works. Let's prove it. Vote yes on Proposition 421.
Armchair.
Why are you the way that you are? I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Wake up, y'all. as we are getting set for, man, it's a quadruple header of baseball. We'll get into that here in a minute. I want to get the football out of the way to make sure we can really dive into kind of the look, even with the Monday night game, baseball's taking center stage today. That Monday night game's kind of a dud anyways. It's for people who are planning on betting on it, Baltimore's -7 and the over under is now 46. It was 45.5 early this morning, so it's climbed. I'm kind of leaning on the under. I don't think the Colts are going to be able to move the ball very well, to be honest with you. And so I think the Ravens will run the ball. I think they'll win the game handily. I would expect the Ravens to win by 10 to 14 points, but I don't think either team is going to, just because the one thing, as many issues the Colts might have, they've got a very good defense. And so that they should be able to line up well against the Ravens and keep them bottled up. I'm looking for like a 24-10 type victory, maybe 24-14. So I don't think that 45 gets it, or now 46. I'm really surprised that it's gone up that high. I thought it would actually start going down, but that tends to happen in Monday Night Football. First of all, you have people who either lost or won yesterday that are either trying to bankroll their winnings and try to have a big score this weekend, or they're trying to get back all they lost, and so they're chasing. And so Monday Night Football is always one of the most bet on events of the entire weekend, or entire week, excuse me. Same thing goes on with the Sunday night. So you see these lines move, but that would be my initial thought process on it, is that I don't see 46 points. I don't really see a pathway, unless there are turnovers with short fields, to be able to get that going, because like I said, even as good as the Ravens have offense is, and the defense is playing well enough, that Colts defense is pretty good, and I think it's going to be a pretty low scoring game. And I would really like to see, I would assume that the first half, let's see what the first half line is. First half over unders 23. That's enticing as well, because you got to figure it's going to get off to a slow start. Ravens -4 on that. So that's what you have right now. You got 46 is the over under, and I'm going to keep an eye on it all day to see if it climbs up. Braves play Milwaukee at 107 first pitch here. And like I said, we will have the call here on this channel. So if you want to sync it to your device and watch the video and listen to us, or if you're going to be in a situation where you can't watch video because you're not trying to get fired about it, just turn us on and, listen to us in the office or wherever you are as you can. Because a 1 o'clock Eastern first pitch, I know it's got a lot of Braves fans ticked off, and I guess I'm just so numb to it at this point. The Braves always end up with the early games in the first round of the playoffs. Even last year, when you had so many teams playing, all those games against the Reds, and then later on in the second round, when the second round is essentially the first round, because there were so many teams that made the playoffs last year because of COVID. They were all day games. Miami versus Atlanta, that's a day game, because what they do is they go off of fan bases, and then also your market. And when you look at the 4 games that are going to go down today, I mean, Chicago should be upset. Houston should be upset as well. They're 3:37 Eastern. That's 2:37 local time in both markets. That's kind of garbage. Those are 2 of the biggest television markets in the country, but they're going to put the Boston Red Sox on prime time every single time. They have a huge fan base. A lot of them are bandwagon, but it is a big fan base. You've got people who are Red Sox fans that can't even find Boston on the map, but they grew up pulling for the Red Sox because the Red Sox have always been good. It's the same thing with the Yankees. So you knew that was going to be the evening game. When I see these ahead of time before they even mention the times, I'm like, well, that's going to be the primetime game. We know that. And we know that Giants Dodgers, they want that prime time out west. So it makes it was at 9:37 tonight Eastern, but that's 6:37 local time. That's perfect for them. And so it really comes down to Brewers and Braves, which one gets the early game, which one gets the mid game. The Braves and Brewers got the mid game the first time on Friday. And so they are basically flip-flopping, and you're going to get Atlanta versus Milwaukee at 1. On Friday, it was 2:00. I think a lot of people would have preferred that they stuck with the 2:00 and 4:37 as opposed to 1:00 and 3:37. I'm not sure why they did that, because the game would still end. The 3:37 first pitch game, if you put it to 4:37, it would still end before 8 p.m. Eastern, or should. The only thing I can think of is they're wanting to, as opposed to wait till 8:00, which they did on Friday night. On Friday night, when we had 4 games, the 8:00 Eastern game was Tampa Bay and the Rays. But I think they want to get it started early because it's a work day tomorrow. The other thing that could be going on, why it's pushed up an hour, is because of Columbus Day. So it's technically a federal holiday, but not many businesses observe Columbus Day anymore. 50, 60 years ago, most businesses closed on it. You had a lot of sales and whatnot that took place, but there's been so many additions to your national holiday calendar. Essentially, some of them had to go by the wayside, and Columbus Day is no longer realistically observed. It's observed in the way that Americans do observe the fact that Columbus came in and founded the U.S., essentially, from the European standpoint, he founded it. But you don't really get the it's not a holiday that the people realistically take a day off or whatnot. So I think that might have something to do with why it's a little earlier, because there are most federal employees still get it off, strangely. But your typical business does not get it off. But it's also probably has to do with the fact that you wanted to get that Rays Red Sox game started at 7 because they know they're going up against Monday Night Football, and you want to get fans locked into your baseball game and the drama that could be going on. By the time you hit 8:20 p.m. kickoff, 8:15 kickoff tonight, the Tampa Bay Boston game will be in about the 4th or 5th inning. And if it's a close game, fans are staying. And so I would say that's got a lot to do with it. If you started it at about the same time as the football game, a lot of your average Joe six-pack sports fans are going to watch the NFL. NFL is king, and it just is. But your big-time sports fans, the ones who actually, what I would consider are actual sports fans, knowledgeable sports fans, they're going to be watching the baseball tonight. A knowledgeable sports fan, unless you're a Colts or Ravens fan, they understand and love the fact that you've got playoff baseball today. They don't really give a crap about the fact that there's a meaningless NFL game that is now 17 weeks long in the season. So, but I think that's the marketing standpoint that they're doing. And there's no good time to start the Giants Dodgers when you're dealing with the out west deal. If you start it too early, you're going to lose all the viewership out west, and they're the ones that they're expecting to really be sucked into it. And the big time baseball fan is going to watch it anyways, and they know that they're going to lose a lot of people on the East Coast anyways, because the game's going to start at 9:30. How many people are going to stay up late and watch it? I will, because I'll go sleep deprived for the month of October. I'm fine with it. But your average fans, because I don't do it for the NBA playoffs. I don't do it for the NHL playoffs. So your average sports fan is going to say, tell me what it is in the morning. I'm going to bed. You got to be a Giants or Dodgers fan or just a baseball head like I am. Okay, so football talk. Wanted to get some football talk in before we go into the actual series, because there's a lot to unpack there with the baseball. But the football talk starts with, first of all, Ravens Colts tonight, -7, over under 46. I told you what I thought. If I'm going anywhere, I'm going Baltimore -7, and I'm going with the under. I don't know if I'm going to touch it. As far as fantasy football, I saw one question earlier, but we're in the middle of college football talk, so I do want to acknowledge Juke was asking, what elite receivers do you think I can get out of CMC? And if you are trading CMC to anybody, you better get the cream of the crop. I don't know why you would trade CMC, but maybe you're loaded at running back. Maybe you're loaded at running back. So I'm thinking you go a top tier wide receiver one and you name the name. And then you could also get a running back 2 or a wide receiver 2 with it. So I'll put it to you this way. Let me pull up those tiers and explain better what I mean. Because the thing is, CMC is by far and away the best fantasy player to have. I personally wouldn't trade him. Now, I would want to make sure when he comes back that I have Chuba Hubbard, excuse me. They really screwed that name up, didn't they? It really should be Chuba. In fact, you know what? I'm calling him Chuba. I'm done. It's not my fault that he doesn't know how to add an extra B in his name. It should be Chuba Hubbard. No one wants to say Chuba Hubbard. If you're going to do that, then you need to change your last name to Hubert. Chuba Huber. But looking at the rankings, if you get rid of CMC, I'm going to want, and I guess he's needing wide receiver help. I'm looking for Javonte Adams. Because I still say, no matter what the rankings were, blah, 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 Javonte Adams is the best fantasy football wide receiver, period. They use him so much and facilitate that offense through him, he very rarely is going to have short games. In fact, in the full point PPR league, the one that's so deep that I was in, I grabbed him, Javonte Adams, in the first round because I think I had the 10th pick. I don't recall if he was the first receiver picked or not, but I had him targeted because of the rules. And he's coming out like a charm. After that first week, he's been phenomenal. So that's what I want. Now, whether or not someone, depends on who you've got in your league. I'd have to see the rosters and whatnot. But what I'm thinking is that's who I want. I want Davante Adams. I would take a Stephon Diggs. I would take a Tyreek Hill. But I also want something in return. So even if I get Davante Adams, I want an RB2 with some upside. If I get anyone else and I'm giving away CMC, I better get an RB2 that has a very, very high floor. I'm talking about guys like a Kareem Hunt. I'm talking about guys with like a Swift, I don't want to throw guys in that are I'll tell you what would be a great move if you're looking for both. If you could get, and once again, this really comes down to who someone else has on the roster. So I'd have to know, what does Davante Adams guy have on his roster, and what does the Tyreek Hill guy have on his roster? What does the Stephon Diggs have on his roster? But if you could get like a Cordell Patterson to go in with a Davante Adams, then I'm perfectly fine with that, because that's someone you can throw in your flex if nothing else. If nothing else, you can throw him in your flex. And so essentially, when you ask that question, I'm basically saying I don't want to trade him, but if you really feel like you want to trade him, I've got to get an elite wide receiver and an RB2. I doubt anyone's going to go bananas and give you well over his worth. I seriously doubt that. I would be shocked, because if someone's going to give you well over his worth, so in other words, I doubt someone's going to give you we'll say Stephon Diggs or Tyreek Hill, or we'll even say, yeah, that's pretty much the list for me to get rid of CMC. And I seriously doubt you're also going to get a wide receiver 1 or running back 1. So you're not going to get Tyreek Hill and Najee Harris. I don't see that happening. I see Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, James Robinson, maybe. But once again, are you willing to give up what CMC can be worth? Because not only is CMC elite, it looks like Carolina is going to be in the playoff hunt for quite some time. They're not just going to be playing out the string. I understand that they lost yesterday, but they're still 3-2. 3-2 in the NFC standings right now. If the season were to end today, see what the season ends today, the Panthers are in the playoffs. Because you'd have the Bucks, Packers, Cowboys, and Cardinals winning their division. The Rams, Bears, and then it would come down to a tie between the Panthers and Saints. And of course, by the end of the season, it'd be a head-to-head tie. But Bears, Panthers, and Saints are all tied at 3-2 apiece. By the end of the season, I don't believe the Bears will be there. The Saints may be there fighting for it. A team that's not in it right now that I think could fight for it would be Minnesota, Seattle, possibly San Francisco. But the point is, Carolina's got a very good chance of at least being in the conversation of the playoffs throughout the NFL playoffs, throughout your entire fantasy playoffs. And that's what you want, because you want a guy who's going to be playing that they're not going to say, well, you know what, you're banged up, it's week 14. Let's go ahead and we'll wait till next year and we'll call it a day. You want that guy to be making every single start down the stretch. And so that is the issue you would have if you make a trade for a guy who's on a team that, look, you make a trade for a Jonathan Taylor. Your biggest issue is going to be, will the Colts be in the playoff hunt? And if they're not, will the Colts have Taylor either A, not even suit up down the stretch, or B, on a heck of a pitch count? Same situation you'll have in Atlanta. You name the star in Atlanta, they're probably not going to play the last few weeks of the season. So your Calvin Ridleys, your Kyle Pitts, Cordell Pattersons, they may not play down the stretch. Now, look, if Atlanta could start getting some W's, then everything changes. And they have won two. They have won 2 of their last 3. But you look at like the New York Giants and Saquon Barkley, he's got another ankle injury. That's going to be a tough go down the stretch. Saquon Barkley probably won't play a whole lot in weeks 15, 16, 17, 18, because they're going to be looking at going, we'll keep them for next year. We'll keep them ready. We might even have a coaching change. Let's regroup and let's not get him hurt. And so that's what I'm looking at when I see these trades that you make. Just I wouldn't trade CMC. I just wouldn't. I think CMC is a guy that you just absolutely do not trade. And you want to make sure that you got Hubbard as his handcuff. And you may not have him now, but I would expect CMC is going to play the next game. And then whoever has Hubbard, after a game or two, they're going to get tired of having him on the bench during all these bye weeks. They're going to drop him, and when they drop him, go grab him. Other things going on in the world of fantasy football. At this point, there's not a whole lot of start-sit questions, because if you've got a guy and you need a guy, you better put him in tonight because it's the only game left on the docket. There would be some minor questions, and I did get a few, so I'll go ahead and hit those up real quick. First one, let's go over to the Baltimore side of it. I got a few questions on that and wanting to know who to start. And yes, we do answer questions, Michael. So looking at the Baltimore side of it, if you're looking at what you should do right now going into week 5, and you've got Ravens going tonight, the biggest question I've been getting is, in a flex position, do I start Latavius Murray or do I start Hollywood Brown? Honestly, what that comes down to, because I do believe that they're going to run the ball a lot with Murray. He had 18 carries last week. He only had 59 yards, but he did get in the end zone. I think he'll get in the end zone again. If you're in a PPR, you got to start Hollywood, because just alone on his catches last week, you take the yards away on his catches last week, he scored 4 points. He also got in the end zone. So his catches and his touchdowns equaled 10 points, which is about total of what Latavius Murray had with his 59 yards and 1 touchdown. So if it's a full point PPR, you got to go Brown. Let me see what the question is here. We got coming from Michael, it says I have Herbert, Dalvin Cook, Moss, Keenan Allen, Diggs, Hollywood, Kyle Pitts. Is there anything you would change or just write it out for the rest of the year? Moss would be the biggest question that I would have. Who are your other running backs? I'm not saying drop Moss per se, but I would have a question on going forward what you would get out of Moss. They've been so incredibly inconsistent in the running game in Buffalo. I think I would rather see get solid production. I mean, what did he have last night? 11 carries, 37 yards. I think he snuck in the end zone. There's got to be something better out there. Now, if you're in a deep league, that there may not be a whole lot of depth out there. But if you at me and tell me what you have out on the waiver wire or where you have it, the rest of the team sounds phenomenal. The rest of the team, when Dalvin Cook comes back, you're going to be fine. Gaskin on the bench. Gaskin is kind of a crapshoot. If there's another guy that you've got possibly out on the waiver wire, I would start looking in, because Gaskin's another guy that he's been a disappointment across the board. Gaskin's in an offense now. Now he had a pretty good game yesterday, but that was kind of the game situation where he got involved in the passing game. And if it's a full point PPR league, you can maybe make things work out with Gaskin and play the Moss Gaskin matchups. But depending on what's out there on your waiver wire, I would at least look to have some kind of depth. So those are the only 3 running backs you have. That could be a situation. Now, as far as the rest of your team, you got Dalvin Cook, Keenan Allen, Diggs, I think Hollywood he's going to have some duds and he's going to have some great games. Pitts is going to get more and more involved in the offense each week. Now, yesterday, I don't think he'll have those kinds of games typically, because yesterday they didn't have Ridley. So if you watch the game, it was Ridley and Patterson. Pitts. It was Pitts and Patterson. That's all it was. But if there's anything else out there on the waiver wire that you could possibly pick up, and depending on how deep of a league you're in and whatnot, that's a loaded question. So without being able to see what's out there on your waiver wire, I don't know what may be out there for you. But there may be guys out there that you could take a chance on for depth on your bench now, and maybe they blossom later. One of the guys that I'm thinking of off the top of my head, who has had a slow start, but realistically could start picking up some steam, would be Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams, look, he's only averaging 7-8 carries a game. So he's not a guy you necessarily want to start right now. But I will say this, when you look at it down the stretch and you get towards the playoffs, if they start using Javonte Williams, he's got a favorable matchups towards the playoffs. You got Kansas City, Detroit, Cincinnati, Vegas. All those defenses are on his slate. It's a 12-man PPR. The waiver wire is right. I'm in one of those leagues, Michael. I totally get what you mean. The best running back out there is Khalil Herbert. Yeah. Okay. So, what you might be in a situation where you might need to go out there and handcuff all your guys, because you don't want an injury to totally derail you. I'm in a league right now. I'm going to pull that league up real quick, because the interesting part about it is, you talk about the waiver wire, this thing is just bone dry. And I'm starting to wonder, does everyone else have a 10-man roster and I only have 6? Because how is there nobody involved? It doesn't matter what position I'm at. I don't have a guy available, no matter what position I'm looking at. It's absurd. The best quarterback available in the entire thing. And I know people will probably run out and go after Winston now. Man, he's so hit or miss. And realize one of his touchdowns yesterday was a Hail Mary. And he's on a bye, so it doesn't even do any good this week. But the best quarterbacks out there right now in my league, Davis Mills, Teddy Bridgewater, Jacoby Brissett. That's the list. That's why I had to go out and grab Trevor Lawrence, because Russell Wilson was injured and I knew I was going to start someone next week, and I didn't want to get stuck with the Davis Mills show. So running backs on the wire in my league, there's like Giovanni Bernard. Giovanni Bernard is one in a full PPR league that if he's out there, you might want to keep an eye out for, because he snuck into the end zone yesterday. He is their drug of choice when it comes to third down passing downs, and he could possibly get you some work. But the other guys that are out there in these leagues, as far as depth, I would want another guy. Remember, Daryl Williams might be out there on your waiver wire right now. So Daryl Williams, if you're in a deep league like this, I would put a claim in on him. I don't know what the news for CEH is going to be, but I seriously doubt he plays next week. So another guy, he got injured yesterday. I'm pulling up to see what his status is. It looks like he's okay. The Tennessee Titans are playing Buffalo next week. I've got to figure they're going to be playing from behind. Jeremy Nichols in a full point PPR in a 12-man league, that is one you might want to keep an eye on, because they use him a lot in the passing game. He got banged up a little bit, but I think he's okay. And assuming he's okay, that could be a sneaky play next week. That could be a very sneaky play next week. Jeremy Nichols, Monday night. The problem is if he's in on some kind of injury question, you're gonna have to play around with, oh God, well, we're gonna go into Monday night and I don't know who to start. Now you do have the option, because you said you had Moss, that you would be able to pick up Nichols, wait till the last moment, figure out who's playing and who's not, and put Nichols in if you start, put Moss in if he's not. Another guy you can keep an eye on. Like I think it's Daryl Williams, but Jerick McKinnon might get some carries in Kansas City. Maybe some JD McKissick. They didn't use him much yesterday, but they're going to play Kansas City next week. You know that's going to be a high-scoring game. The Chiefs' defense sucks. So if you're a full-point PPR 12-man league looking for a deep dive on a running back to stream next week, the two that I would circle would be Nichols of the Tennessee Titans, if he's healthy, Jeremy McNichols, or McKissick, because he's going to play Kansas City, and you got to figure that it's going to be a shootout. That would be my best streaming options for next week. Of course, you could also grab Devontae Booker, because if Saquon Barkley misses any time, he's going to be the guy they're going to go with, and he'll be at home against LA next week. Not the greatest defense to go up against, but he should get the lion's share of the carries. So that's your best bet right there if you're looking for a running back to boost, because I think you need something more than just Gaskin and Moss. You've got a big hole there at running back. You need a third option, and even it's something that you stream. You keep a Gaskin and Moss on your bench. Maybe you drop something else that you don't need. Maybe you have too many quarterbacks or whatever. But JD, I wouldn't drop JD McKissick yet if you still have him on your roster, because obviously Dalvin Cook comes back, you're good. You put him in. But JD could get very good line share in the passing game, because they're not going to be able to run it with Gibson. Kansas City's going to be in panic mode next week. They're 2-3. They're playing a Washington defense that's a sieve. They're going to be chucking it all around, and that's going to put McKissick in the game quite a bit. I feel a little more comfortable with McNichols, because even though we know that Derrick Henry had the big game against Buffalo last year. I don't think it's going to be the same kind of game script. I think Tennessee's going to be trailing, and you're going to get a lot of McNichols. In fact, I might have to use him in my 12-man league because I know Atlanta's on a bye. I've got Davis in that league. I haven't been starting him, but as far as I'd have to pull up that league again to know exactly what I'm talking about. But essentially, I'm looking at a bye week that's going to, not only is it taking away Pitts and Davis as an option, but I don't have Russell Wilson. I'm now 2-3 in that league, or will be, because it's so hard to score in that lead, and I'm up by 60. So he's got like a kicker and a running back left. The guy would literally have to score 6 touchdowns. Maybe even more than that. I think the way his points are set up, he might have to score 8 touchdowns to beat me. And I don't see Jonathan Taylor getting 8 touchdowns. So, but yeah, so that's essentially what we're looking at here is we begin the bye weeks this week. There's some injuries popping up. There's going to be names you can hit out there, and we will definitely get more into that. Sunday morning, if you're just joining us, Sunday mornings we're here from 10 a.m. to noon, and we have all the guys here. And any fancy question you've got, throw them out at us. We also hit all the start 'em sit 'ems. If you want to start 'em sit 'em answered, DM us on our Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Facebook page, and also on our Twitter handle. Is it Armchair Quarterbacks? I believe it's Armchair Quarterbacks _ let me see, it's changed over the year. Yeah, Armchair QB _ YT. Follow us on Twitter and DM us there as far as start 'em sit 'ems. But if you want to wait till game day, we answer anything put in the thread. All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears over to Major League Baseball because we're going to run out of time here, and we do have the game live here on our channel at 1 p.m. Eastern. Should be a fun game. It's game number 3. The series is tied 1-1. And what you're going to get today ends up being what I talked about this on Saturday, but it ends up being what I thought it would be. It's Freddie Peralta up against Ian Anderson. Freddie Peralta has been a tough customer, especially against the Braves. And I'll get more into that when we get ready for the show today. But Peralta is just a nasty, nasty customer. Now, the one thing that helps us, Braves fans, is that he pitches much better at home. But regardless, he's got a 2.81 ERA, a .97 whip. He has struggled a little bit down the stretch. His last outing was September 26th. So he hasn't pitched in what? Is that looking at the docket of it? He has not pitched, man, almost 3 weeks. Well, I'm sorry, 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks. Because you've got the 26th was, so he last pitched on September 26th. That was a week before the season ended. So they didn't have him pitch at all in the second part of the season, in the last week of the season. And then he has not pitched in the playoffs yet. So with all that being said, there could be some rust out there, and you might be able to run him out of the game early. Now, what they'll do for game 4, I don't know. I think they'll probably go back to Burns, especially if they were to lose today. If they don't lose today, they might do a bullpen game and save Corbin Burns for at home in Milwaukee, because you make it very difficult to beat Corbin Burns at home. But regardless of however you look at it, Atlanta's going to have to find a way to beat Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns is, in all likelihood, going to pitch whenever Milwaukee's back is up against the wall next. So they're either going to pitch him tomorrow because they're down 2-1, or they're going to hold off and put him in game 5, if necessary, in Milwaukee on Thursday. Any way you look at it, it's going to be a tough way, because if you have to face Corbin Burns tomorrow, and it would be on short rest-ish. He pitched on Friday, so it'd be off of 3 days rest. So it's not terribly, but you got to figure it's going to make it where he can only pitch 4 or 5 innings. If the Braves are smart and they use the pitch count and make him pitch, they're not going to let their stud go out there and throw 100 pitches on 3 days rest and possibly ruin his career. Milwaukee's not going to do it. So you've got to be smart if that ends up being the case. You've got to be smart and run that pitch count up. Now, as far as today is concerned, what you would love to do is see some rust on Peralta. You get into the pen early, and then win, lose, or draw today, tomorrow, with a short rest on Burns or possibly a bullpen game in general, the Brewers would be right for the taking. It's going to be Ian Anderson today for Atlanta. I would think, in all likelihood, if Atlanta loses today, Charlie Morton's going on short rest. And it might be a situation when you can only expect him to go out there for about 3 innings. If they win today, they know they're kind of playing with house money, so to speak. It could be Huascar Ynoa. You could roll him out there and be prepared to do a bullpen type game, see how far Ynoa could go, and go from there. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Because remember, you still have Drew Smiley in the bullpen. So you could really throw them off if you put, let's say you put Peralta out, Ynoa out there for a few innings tomorrow. They're going to set their lineup, because the Brewers, more than almost any other team in baseball, they set their lineup according to your starting pitcher. So they would go left-handed heavy, and you pull the okey doke in the second or third inning, you bring Smiley out there to go 3 innings, and it's lefty-lefty matchup. It would be set up for him to go into the 5th, maybe even 6th inning before you have to go into your bullpen, your actual bullpen, because I look at Smiley as a piggyback. Or you do it the other way around, and you let Smiley start, and you have Ynoa come out and piggyback. And that all comes down to today what Ian Anderson can do. Ian Anderson has pitched well the last few times out. But the biggest thing that I've seen with Ian Anderson in his very short career, and especially this year, is he has had issues being accurate in the strike zone, which has ran up his pitch count. And I go back to a game that I did I guess it was the first game that I ever did on the play-by-play calls here on the YouTube channel. By the way, there are a couple of radio stations that have picked this up and they're streaming it. I don't know how they're getting away with that, because it's legal to do it on the tube. To do it on external radio, I'm not going to get involved in that, but I don't know how they're pulling that off, because you have to have certain rights on radio. But anyways, That's what we call not my problem. The game where he went up against the Giants and he could not get out of the 6th inning, gave up 4 earned runs. The game where he went up against the Marlins, this is Ian Anderson, September 10th. And though they got the W, he only went 5 innings because he was all over the place. Walked 2. Doesn't have a lot of strikeouts, but that game against Miami, he had 9 strikeouts, but Miami was swinging at everything. The game in which went up against Colorado, 3 innings, 4 earned runs. In July against Miami, 2 innings, 4 earned runs. Ian Anderson's biggest question mark has been him staying consistent in the zone. And when he does not stay consistent in the zone, that's when he gets into trouble. It runs the pitch count up. It puts stress on the bullpen. It puts stress on the defense because you walk guys. If he's not walking guys, he's giving them very favorable counts where it's a 3-1 pitch and they're sitting dead red. Getting ahead early in the count and then not playing around once he gets in front. That is, to me, the key to Ian Anderson getting the W today. This is a very manageable offense you can go up against with the Brewers. They've got some good batters, some good bats, but they're not an elite offense. Make no mistake about it. This isn't the Houston Astros. This isn't the Los Angeles Dodgers. So he's got to go out there and make big time pitches, and he's got to keep the pitch count down for a number of reasons. But one of the best reasons would be you'd love to get into the 7th inning before you hit the bullpen. And I don't believe you will see Snicker let any of his starters go past the 6th inning in the playoffs. I felt like he pulled Max Fried out way too early in Saturday's game. But he was gun shy because of what happened the night before with Morton. And I'll say it again with the Morton situation. Morton had pitched 6 phenomenal innings, but you knew he was starting to lose it. He was very all over the board in the 6th. They sent him back out there to the 7th, and I didn't hate it. But the first sign of trouble, he should have been out of the game. And the first 2 pitches were strikes. And you're like, all right. Maybe he just had a blip. Maybe he's got his touchback. Then it was 4 consecutive pitches for a walk. At that point, you got to pull him. And they didn't. They left him in there to face Yallez, hard-hitting lefty. And the righty-lefty matchup. He couldn't find the strike zone, and bam, that thing was gone. That's not the same situation you had in Game 7. Excuse me. In the 7th inning in Game 2. The situation in Game 2 was you were up 3-0. Fried was pitching well. You could have sent him back out there to the 7th. And then the first sign of trouble, you grab someone in the bullpen. Meaning if he lets one guy go, one guy on base, then you go get who I think is the most difficult pitcher in our bullpen to hit, which is Matzik. Luke Jackson has been much better this year, but he's still pretty predictable. He's either going to throw that fastball at you or the curveball that's in the dirt. He's trying to get you to chase. And if you're smart enough to know which is which and pick up on it, If it's spinning, don't swing at it because it's very rare that he throws a slider or fastball for a strike. And we're in the playoffs now. You're going up against much better batters, and they're going to be able to seek that out. And of course, Will Smith, he is what he is, man. He's a walking heart attack. I mean, we're stuck. We are where we are. And when he comes in, you just have to hope the good Lord's on our side that day. You got to hope whatever someone swings at, they barely miss. But typically, we need a 2 to 3 run lead going into the ninth because Will Smith's going to make it interesting. So that's what you have today there in the Braves Brewers matchups. We'll have the call at 1:00 before we run out of here. We've got a couple of minutes left. I'm not going to do anything about Astros White Sox. Realistically, Rodon will pitch today. He's been battling injury. I feel like the White Sox will put up a valiant effort, but just fall short today. If not, it's going to go back to Houston, and I would be absolutely shocked if the Astros don't win that series one way or the other. The late game tonight, Giants-Dodgers, Wood versus Scherzer. Remember, Alex Wood was a part of a lot of those Dodger runs, originally from the Braves, but he spent quite a bit of time with the Dodgers. And that should be a fun one. Difficult lefty, a guy that I still curse the day that they let him go in Atlanta. I was disappointed, to say the least, but he was a big part of the Dodgers' success over the last several years. He's got a World Series ring with them. Now, last year, he only threw 6 innings. He was a bullpen guy for them. And he came out to the Giants because he wanted a chance to go back into a rotation. And I think he looks at it as, I got a chance to get paid. Because I'm pretty sure he signed a 1-year deal. So he'll be a free agent this year, and someone's going to back that truck up. So that should be a fun game, but you got to figure the Dodgers have the upper hand with Scherzer, although Scherzer hasn't been shut down per se. But tonight, the 7:00 game, I feel like Tampa's going to run out some version of a bullpen game. They haven't announced who the opener is going to be, but it could be a number of about 3 or 4 guys, and I'm not going to sit here and try and guess right now as we go to wrap this up. But Erod's going to hit the mound for Boston. He hasn't looked that great so far in the postseason, but Erod's one of those guys that if he can get through the first couple of innings unscathed, you might have a long night. He might be a guy that can go to 5th, 6th inning. If you can rush him out, you can be into the Boston bullpen early, and that would be Tampa Bay's game plan. I cannot wait for tonight's game. I'm going to broadcast the game tonight this afternoon for the Braves Brewers. And when that game gets over with, I'm going to go get my popcorn because I'm going to be locked into that game. That is the game for me tonight. I am planning on watching the Giants Dodgers game. And then we'll have the game here tomorrow as well. So we'll have the Braves versus Brewers today, 1:07 p.m. first pitch. We'll come on at 1:00 and do a little bit of a pregame, kind of set the lineup type of thing. I don't do a whole lot when it comes to that. I don't see the need in it. So the broadcast starts about 15, 20 minutes before, but we just play commercials so that all the entities that want to listen and share it have time to grab it. And we make sure there's no hiccups. As I said, there's a couple of stations that are grabbing it. I don't know how they're getting away with it. But anyways, and then Tuesday, the Braves will be the first part of a doubleheader. It's a 5:07 Eastern first pitch. We'll have that game as well. And if there is a game 5, Brewers Braves is set for 5:07 Eastern. But what I'm hearing is if Dodgers Giants does not go 5 and the Brewers and Braves go 5, you're going to get that as most likely a start of somewhere between 7 and 8 o'clock at night. I've been told that if it's Brewers Braves, they want to do it at 7 because they want to get the jump on Thursday Night Football. But if it's Dodgers Giants, they have to wait because they don't want the traffic situation trying to get to a game 5 in San Francisco. So they got to wait until at least 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock local time. So there you have that. I'm mammered on about all the other junk, so I don't really have time to do the turn back time like I normally do. So I do apologize for that. Talk too long about baseball, and there you go with that. So by the way, I will say this on the turn back time. So I do find this interesting. This is on this date, 1911, so 110 years ago, was the inaugural National League and American League MVP prize was given, and they still do it to this day, a brand new car. And when Ty Cobb found out that he was going to get a new car, there's another one that did it for the batting title, another car company. He started getting very competitive, and he wanted to, I think when it was all said and done between MVPs and cars, he had amassed, it was well into the double digits of vehicles that he won over the years. And there was one where there was a tie, and to prevent a fight, they ended up giving Ty Cobb and the other it was either the MVP or the batting champion. They gave them both the car because they knew Ty Cobb would literally fist fight someone over it, so they didn't want any of that nonsense going on. So there you go. That's the version of the turn back time. All right, we're gonna get out of here as we are a couple of minutes past. I'm getting that glowing light that says get off and end it. So we will see you Friday for Wake Up Y'all. We're here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern, and 10 a.m. on Sunday. And then we'll see you today in just a few hours, 1 p.m., 107 first pitch, Braves and the Brew Crew.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette.